Brain populations, Zika virus, Microcephaly, humans, lab rats, chemtrails, mill, Monsanto, Chevron, petrodollar connecting dots, beta testing populations, secret weapons of mass destruction. MiamiCan.com, Ian Trottier, latest leak project. Hey, how are you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm fine. I'm in Miami, so that's why I 6 weeks ago, a friend of mine that's from New York, who I confide in quite a bit, said, hey, you got to come to the city hall meeting. And prior to that, I knew that the Zika thing was going on, and I knew they were spraying for it. But I just, just like Joe Civilian, I thought, okay, I trust the government's doing what they should be doing to protect us and support our tax dollars. And he's like, no, you got to come to this thing. And so I went to it. And Rex, I tell you, man, when I sat in that chamber, and there's 6 commission members and a mayor, and then the city attorney, and they're listening to both sides. And there's 300. I don't know what the official count was. I'm throwing a number. There's 300 people sitting in that chamber, totally opposed to the nailed spraying. Stop the spraying. And then there's other protests going on outside. And I thought, whoa, the majority of the people here are saying, hey, use a safer alternative. Use BTI, which is being used in Broward. Use something that's not harmful. And the deputy mayor from Miami-Dade, Hudak is her name, stood up and gave her side. And it's like the commission, Miami Beach Commission, Miami Beach is a separate city. They basically folded. And then I was interviewed afterwards by a CBS reporter. And that's why I said they were acting like puppets. I mean, they like bowed down to kiss her feet. They were going to do whatever she said. And of course, that Miami-Dade rep, because the mayor Jimenez wasn't present for whatever reason, she says no, we've got to spray with nail it. And I thought, wait, you've got 300 citizens of Miami Beach saying don't spray us with that shit. And as a commission, who we pay your salary, you're saying, because the rep from Miami-Dade is saying use nail it, you're saying no, we're going to continue using nail it. I thought, who's representing the people? So that's why I'm up in arms about this. And the more I dig, the more dirt that I dig up, the more supports those 300 people. Look, so I teamed up with this guy up in Chapel Hill, and he's been fighting chemicals for years. And he took Monsanto on. And because he personally fell ill, he was living on a golf course in Tampa. He fell ill. He wanted to figure out what the hell they were spraying the lawns with and the bushes with. And it turns out they're spraying them with shit that was bad for human consumption. And so, fortunately, I think, found him. He runs a site called chem-talks.com. And then he and I have been building the Citizens Against Nail It, MiamiCan.com. We've also got the domain name stopspraying.org, because we'd like to make this a national message. We're all in this together, like what you're doing, and then we're all trying to stop this tyranny, which is all basically based on oil, an economy run by oil, petroleum. So one of the things I found is that this Nailed is linked to the Chevron Corp, 1956. It's now manufactured by Amvac out of Los Angeles, nothing more than American Vanguard, which is Dutch petroleum, Shell, a Dutch bank. And the other thing that just blew my mind away, Rex, is that this Chevron. I don't know if it's the same thing, but the product that I've been able to find, the product that Chevron debuted in 1956 for agriculture purposes in California, also contains something called tetraethyl. Now this will blow your mind if you don't know this. Tetraethyl. You probably heard that Prescott Bush was the head of a bank called Union Bank, which financed the Nazi movement in Germany. And basically, the pitting was the Hitler's Germany versus the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. And that bank, and you can go to a guy named Anthony Sutton, who was a teaching fellow at Stanford. And then he also was a full-time prophet. I think it was Cal State Los Angeles, not UCLA, but Cal State Los Angeles. And I don't know if he's still around. He's probably gone now. But he wrote an extensive book that chronicles that adds all these people up, man. So the Bushes, Prescott was in the same bed, be it Federal Reserve, with J.P. Morgan, and with J.D. Rockefeller, and of course it was David Rockefeller, and Rockefeller's descendants they're still controlling the Federal Reserve. But this is what I'm going to get at. Tetraethyl was a lead component of gasoline that was the only type of gasoline. It's all by design. It was the only type of gasoline that those planes, those Nazi warplanes, would run on, and that was a patent that was held by Standard Oil of New Jersey, otherwise known as Exxon, and also DuPont, and then I think it was General Motors. Those three companies held the patent on tetraethyl. Now, I don't know who sold the Nazis those warplanes, but those warplanes could only, and this is in Anthony Sutton's book, those warplanes could only get off the air using this tetraethyl gasoline. So basically, and see, my family's British and French, and my mother's English, and I said, and some of this stuff is just mind-boggling, and the average person is just, whoa, right? I mean, and so I said, look, and Rick, I'm going to tell you, man, and this guy was British. This Anthony Sutton's British. I told him, I said, it wasn't the Germans that bombed London in World War II and split France in half. She's not having French answer. That's what my father said. I said it was the United States. It was the Federal Reserve that funded the Nazi regime. So when that shipment of that tetraethyl gasoline got into Germany, those warplanes took off, and boom. I mean, this guy has it down. The next day, or within like 12 hours or something, London was bombed. I mean, dude, this stuff is like so fucking incredible. The average guy is just going to be like, holy shit, it's all conspiracy. I mean, that's when they throw that name out there. But what I've done, I've added some of this shit up, and it's just like, holy shit, these are credible sources. This guy was a teaching fellow at Stanford. You know what I mean? I mean, he's got this stuff all laid out, and so look, I'm just an average guy. And all I want to do is live in peace and harmony. But my nose was bleeding one day after these spranks, or during these spranks. I think they started spraying in this place called Wynwood, which I actually currently am at right now. And then they started spraying in Miami Beach. The other thing which is interesting is that in Wynwood, the mosquito traps have not turned, or they haven't been presented to the general public that there's proof that any mosquito actually carrying the Zika virus has ever even found in Wynwood. Now I don't know about Miami Beach, but when they started spraying that shit over Miami Beach, I remember one night I was out with this girl. I was at a place called Prime 101, and I was talking to her, and I was making out with her, whether I was kissing her, and my nose started to bleed. And this is right on Ocean Boulevard, right on the shore, and my nose started bleeding. Like, what the hell's my nose bleeding for? And my nose started bleeding. And then as I'm investigating, it's saying, hey, if you have headaches, if you have nosebleed, if you have respiratory problems, but nosebleed is one of the symptoms of this nailage, causing an ill effect. And I see dead animals in the road. I see a dead bird driving around. I drive for a lift right now, and I see dead birds. I see dead birds. I see dead animals, dead cats. And I'm like, what the hell? It's something that's abnormal. Not like there's a ton of dead animals flying around, but it's just like, whoa, this. And then I give this girl I was giving this girl, her name is Victoria. She's from Russia, and she's the one that kind of turned me onto this too. She's like, you got to look into this. And I give her, and she's got these fish in a fish tank, and she sells wooden floors, high-end wooden floors. And one of her fish, we get there Monday morning, and one of the fish is dead. And another one's got a tumor or something growing on it. It's really weird. So, and I said, Victoria, is this linked to this spraying that they're doing? She says, yeah, I'm positive. Now she's medically trained. She's an MD from Vladivostok in Russia. So she's not a moron. She hasn't passed the test. She doesn't want to. She knows how backwards the medical system is. But nonetheless, she's medically trained in Russia, so she knows what she's talking about. So there's just all these different things, man. And like, you know what? I was just going along with my life and just kind of making ends meet, trying to stay stable. And then I start looking into this, and I'm like, whoa, the more I find out, the worse this is looking. Now the other thing, Rex, you still there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm digesting this, man. This is great. Just keep going.
Cool. So the other thing, Rex, is I've got a buddy up in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So I lived up there before. I'm originally from San Francisco. I'm fifth generation San Franciscan. I married a Mexican. I married a Mexican lady. The marriage didn't work out. I wanted to find something new. I left her in San Francisco. I originally went to South Carolina and then made my way down to Miami. But my dad used to work for Chevron in the 80s. So some of these things started hitting home, and I'm like, whoa, shit. Look, I was born in J.D. Rockefeller developed two primary institutions, the Rockefeller University and then University of Chicago. That's something that he financed to build. Now I was born in the hospital in Oakland called Henry J. Kaiser, and he built the fucking warships for World War II. He owns copper or some sort of he owns mines along the peninsula in I think it's in the Los Altos Hills, or Cupertino or something like that. He was a magnet for that's what he did. He brought in cheap labor during the 40s, I believe, to the San Francisco Bay Area. And my family got there in the 1890s. But he brought in cheap labor and to help build these warships. So I don't know what the connection would be to him and the Federal Reserve, or him and the Federal Reserve, or him and Rockefeller, but certainly there's a connection somewhere. And so that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, Chevron, Naled, 1956. And then the other link is interesting, is that in Recife, Brazil, they're buying their product. It's called Microcephaly, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's a product sold by Sumitomo Chemical. Now, Sumitomo Chemical is a branch of Valiant in Walnut Creek, California. Valiant is nothing more than a branch of Chevron. So the same product. Now they're not selling whoever they is, which would be Valiant. Is not selling these governments in Recife, or the government in Recife in Brazil, Naled, but they're selling them a product that is similar. And I'm trying to add up what's the whether it's a tetraethyl product, or where does it parallel, right? Because if you were to Google, I was just reading an article out of the Daily Sun in the UK, the Daily Sun, and if you Google pyropexafen and tetraethyl, or pyropexafen and Naled, whatever the two combinations were, you get an article from this Daily Daily Sun, what did I just say? Daily Sun in the UK that says it's not the this is out of the United Kingdom. It's saying it's not the Zika virus that's causing the microcephaly. It's the insecticide. Now on myinecan.com, which I fully stand by everything published on that website. Again, I've been building that with a guy named Richard Pressinger, and everything we found out. Cornell University, PubMed.com, New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, which is a medical journal in the UK, Lancaster University, and I had dialogue with a lot of these experts. St. Louis University, Washington University at St. Louis, and I've spoken to a lot of these people, man. There is no direct link, zero, that shows that Zika causes microcephaly without taking into account what are called immunotoxic environmental agents. None. There's no link that shows Zika causes microcephaly. Yet, there are, and this is Cornell and Oslo in Norway, there are publications that show a direct link of stating Naled causes microcephaly. And then this other article on the Daily Sun is saying that this pyropexafen also causes microcephaly. That's with these babies that are getting born with totally mutated heads, man. Now, because what happens is, excuse me, what happens from what I've been able to find is that Zika acts very similar to this agent in Naled. And whatever agent that is, I don't know. That's why I've gone down this tetraethyl train. And I haven't been able to parallel that with pyropexafen. But whatever's in Naled is acting the same way that Zika is acting. And Zika was found in the Uganda forest of Africa, close to Lake Victoria. If you add all this stuff, it's all insane. If you've heard of you ever heard of a Rhodes Scholar out of Oxford? He's tied into what's called the old soul school. He wanted to build Cecil Rhodes wanted to build a connection. I believe it was Cairo down to a railroad that connected Cairo, the tip of Africa, the northern tip, down to the southern tip of Africa. Now, it went along the largest lake in Africa, and that's called Lake Victoria. Dude, there's no coincidence. That's exactly where this Zika thing was discovered by a scientist being funded by the Rockefeller Foundation or Institute, and he found Zika. This is all everything I've researched. This is accurate. This is true. From a monkey, a rhesus monkey, and then it was taken from the rhesus monkey. It was then inserted into a mouse. And it was found that it penetrated the mouse's brain. It was taken out. This is from what I remember. It was taken from the mouse's brain, then inserted into a human being to see what kind of effects it would have. So the cultivation process, there's a patent on this, because if you have credentials, if you have the necessary scientific credentials, you can actually order bales of the Zika virus from these people. It's just insane. So what I'm finding, and what I'm finding is that Zika acts the same way that Naled does once it's either absorbed by the skin, or it's absorbed pulmonarily through respiratory, inhaling it, or if it's you're bitten with it, with a mosquito carrying Zika. So once it enters the bloodstream, where the hell it absorbs it in the human body, it's acting the same way. And what's happening is a pregnant woman gets bitten by a mosquito with Zika. It enters the placenta, which then enters the child, and it absorbs into the child's brain. It breaks what's called a blood-brain barrier. and it totally mutates the brain, not Zika, because Zika will enter the same way. So the Zika will find its way all the way into a baby's brain. But it's not the Zika that's causing the problem. It's the goddamn insecticide that's mutating the brain. It's not. So Zika, from what I've been able to find, is that Zika is being used as a mask to mask and promote the need to spray the goddamn insecticide. Yet it's not Zika that's causing the harm. It's the fucking insecticide that's fucking the child's brain. And in a human being, excuse my language, in the human brain, so somebody like you and I, who's seemingly healthy, a grown adult human being, our brains are fully developed. It's also causing damage in an adult brain because we're taking in the insecticide. And Zika's not going to do anything other than cause flu-like symptoms or something mild. It's not going to have any detrimental effect on the brain thought or development. But in an adult human brain, it's going to break that what's called a blood-brain barrier, and it's going to absorb the brain, and it's going to do a couple things. It's going to cause the onset of things like, I mean, every one of us are made up genetically, so some of us are stronger than others. But it's going to cause the onset. Not saying that you're going to have it, but it's going to cause the likelihood of the onset of it. Things like Alzheimer's, things like Parkinson's, things like seizures, being prone to susceptibility of seizures. And the other thing it does is it kills, and this is how it does it. It kills what's called an acetylcholinesterase. And the acetylcholinesterase is basically the synapse that fires for you and I or any human being to complete a thought. So, and this is done by design. If you listen to a guy like Mike Adams at healthranger.com, naturalnews.com, he's saying that it's these people that are to boost their pockets, which is sell their products, which is based off of petroleum. And they're also dumbing down a population. Now, this is a total other argument, but it makes sense in that what happens is if you're absorbed by these fumes, these fumigations, these insecticides, then it's killing your ability to basically process and complete a thought, which is called the acetylcholinesterase. So it's like little links in a chain. So your likelihood of if you develop a thought, if your acetylcholinesterase is being killed, then your thought is just going to stop and it's not going to complete. And that makes sense. A guy like Matt Adams is saying, hey, it's perfectly done because they want to dumb the population down so that we're like robots. We don't complete our thoughts. We don't look into this stuff. We don't question authority. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but it does make sense. It makes perfect sense. But that's the harm. And this guy Richard that I'm working with, he's got a whole list of other things, how it's causing an onset of diabetes in kids. Now, he's got a master's in special education, so he's dedicated a couple decades to this stuff. It's causing onset of cancer. And so one way of looking at it is, hey, I'm going to spray you with this insecticide. Then I'm going to tell you to use something called DEET, which is found in most commercial insecticides like Off that you can find at Safeway or Publix or whatever shopping center you're going to, Piggly Wiggly. You find that over the shelf, Walgreens. And I've taken pictures of it, man. There's these local governments. Now, another guy that I work with, he served in Afghanistan in the Army, and he says the Army wouldn't permit us to use DEET. They wouldn't allow us to use DEET. Yet all these local governments close in Miami, you can see it, man. They're telling you they're handing out pamphlets. They're putting it on they're putting it on their city hall electronic boards, saying protect yourself from Zika mosquitoes. Spray yourself with DEET. And this guy that I'm talking to that's serving in Afghanistan say, hey, don't use DEET. The Army wouldn't even let us use DEET. DEET's got agents in it that are going to do the same thing. That are going to so these pregnant women are spraying themselves with DEET. They're also being fumigated by this nail. You're getting a double dose of whatever the agent is that's basically murdering the child, the development of the child's brain. It's totally asinine, man. It's completely asinine. But hey, this is what I've been able to find. I'm just an average guy. I want to make ends meet. I want to live peacefully, but and I didn't start looking into this until my friend David said, "Hey, you've got to look at this. There's a movement. People are irate that they're using this stuff, and everything I've been able to find, Rex, everything I've been able to dig up. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's classified, of course. So it's hard getting into those military databases. It's going to be impossible unless you know how to break in, to crack into them. But a lot of this stuff's going to be classified. But everything that you can find that's available via Google, which is anything that the government's going to allow to be accessible to the public, which is what we're going to be finding on Google, the more extensively you can search on Google, everything I've been able to find, and I'm talking about New England Journal of Medicine. I'm throwing out some pretty. I was talking to an expert at Georgetown. I called him on the phone, and I says, can you tell me that there is a direct link that Zika causes microcephaly? He says, no, I can't tell you that. Hey, this is like a mosquito expert, man. He holds like prestigious international relation chair seats. Different. He's based right there in Georgetown, right next to Washington D.C. And he says, no, I can't tell you that. I have no science, I have no research to tell you that. Yet, you can find the publications through Cornell. You can find the publications through Oswald that show a direct science that shows that NALED causes microcephaly. So what the hell? Hey, what the hell? Why Miami-Dade? Here's the other thing that's interesting, Rex, and this is proven. So it seems now. Remember, I used that term puppets because it seemed like Levine, Philip Levine, who's the mayor of Miami Beach, and his commission member. I think there's like 6 commissioners that fall underneath him, and that city attorney. When they listened to the testimony of Kodak, whatever her first name was, to me they look like puppets. They were just going to do exactly whatever the hell she said to do. And when I thought about it. And the other information that was given to me, I thought, okay, they're basically being pulled like a puppet from the mayor of Miami-Dade, this guy named Jimenez, Carlos Jimenez. And so if he's pulling their puppet strings, then someone's pulling his puppet strings. And this was part of these protests outside City Hall, Miami Beach again. They were saying, hey, Rick Scott owns a mosquito repellent company. So I thought, was that true? And sure enough. Yes, it's true. He's got millions of dollars tied into a pharmaceutical company, which I haven't been able to prove, but it would seem that, hey, he's going to cash in on both ends, the pharmaceutical end, and then he's cashing in on the end of spraying this NALED stuff. Now, again, I haven't been able to link him to NALED, but I do know that he owns a company that's based out of Louisiana, and that Louisiana-based chemical company has jurisdiction over spraying insecticides. Again, I haven't linked that to NALED. But that's Alabama, that's Mississippi, that's Georgia, that's South Carolina. So this thing I think I alluded to, I've got a friend in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and Keith had been sprayed with NALED, and he's in Hilton Head. The other end of the state, the north end of the state is Charleston. They had also been sprayed with NALED, which has killed like 3 to 4 million honeybees. And so people up there were outraged. The honeybees highly important to our environment and our ecology. So killing a few million honeybees is never a good thing. So the other thing was interesting, and I'm talking to Keith, who's now in the Philippines, but he was at the moment he was in a couple weeks ago. He just left a few days ago. He was in Hilton. He says, Ian, he says, don't you think there's a correlation between the outbreak of Zika, the spraying of these insecticides, and then the formation of this hurricane? And I thought, I hadn't even thought about it, but it makes sense. There's people like he's been digging stuff for many years, but there's people that are highly opposed to these chemtrails, and then I was watching a video this morning that had this woman. I can get you the names, but it had this woman talking about aerial sprayings, being able to manipulate the direction of a path of a hurricane. So I don't know that there is a direct link to the spraying of these insecticides and the formation of this hurricane that devastated Haiti. I don't know that there's a link, but what I'm concerning myself with is that I do know that there is no reason for this local government here to go against the will of the people, and their will was to not spray NALED, to use a safer organic alternative. And there's a major problem here because everything I've been able to find shows that their argument is totally valid, and that is that NALED causes microcephaly, and that Zika doesn't. And what I'm saying by doesn't is what I've been able to uncover is that Zika is scientifically shown to not have a direct link. And again, I use the word immunotoxic elements of the environment. So without taking into consideration what a member of the population would breathe in, whether it's in Fiji, whether it's in Brazil, wherever it may be on the planet, a human being that has a human brain, not taking not taking into consideration immunotoxic elements in the environment, there's no science supporting that Zika causes microcephaly. None. Zero. And that right there is case enough that local government here should not have sprayed its people with Naled. Puerto Rico refused the shipment. I don't know if you know that story or not, but a couple weeks prior to that, Puerto Rico refused the shipment of Naled. It was on a plane. I think it had landed or it was shipped, whatever. It come to port, and they refused to accept the shipment of this Naled. They refused to spray their people with this Naled. Another key instrument here is studies done at UC Davis. UC Davis is an agricultural institution based very close to Sacramento, which is the capital of California. Northern California is where it is. And there are studies, they have ties into the wine industry and growing, so spraying this stuff on grapes and whatever it may be. But there are also studies linked to UC Davis that I've been able to uncover that show a direct link in the development of autism in children that are born from pregnant women that have been exposed to these sprays during their pregnancy. I mean, the facts and the science definitely outweigh this Zika argument being presented by the Congress. Now, the other alarming thing to take into consideration, again, I'm just an average member of society, want to live a nice, happy, healthy life, and I think as a human being, all of us on this planet, all of us who walk this planet, have that right. And spraying a population with a spray that they do not want to be sprayed with is total manipulation, total government control. And if you dissect that word, govern means control, ment, Latin root, means mind control. I mean, some of these things are again, I've listened to some of the stuff that you've done and who you've interviewed, and I probably learned that from one of the studies. It's all fact. All this stuff is fact. But that's abuse of power. Spraying. I mean, hey, somebody can move, and they're giving the city, the inhabitants of the city, they're saying, hey, we're going to spray this stuff. Yeah, you can leave. You can go to Montana. You can go to a different state. You can not breathe it. But most of us, like myself, I can't just pick up and go to Montana. I got to stick around. I've got to pay my bills. Most of us here we can't just jump on a plane or do we want to take that risk to go to Montana for a week and not make money? We've got to stay in this geographical location to make money. So it's really manipulation, and it's in my eyes, it's tyranny. I'm not an expert. I mean, I've got a bachelor's degree. That's it. But that's pretty common these days. All I am again is just a concerned member for society, and I think any human being walking this planet has the right to breathe the proper air that they should be breathing, and not have to relocate and change their life in order to escape some of these things. And it's Rex. It's just not adding up. Everything I have been able to uncover at buyingthecan.com, and you can go to chem-talks.com. Everything that the two of us have been able to uncover in our research totally outweigh any argument for the Zika virus that it's an actual threat to the human species. Another thing that's very important to know is that the week after the final spraying, I believe Jimenez was on Capitol Hill with Rick Scott, who owns that insecticide company. I've been able to link it. You can go to his website. You can go to his, I think it's called ScottCapitalPartners.com, something like that. You can go to that website, and it lists all the companies that he invests in. And one of those companies, a mosquito insecticide company based out of Louisiana. There's like 5 or 6 companies that he's investing in. Another company is this pharmaceutical company. It's all listed right there on his website. And the other thing is that those two gentlemen and whoever else they were with were on Capitol Hill about a week after the final strength for Naled, petitioning Congress, and I think it was Schwartzman. I remember who they were petitioning Congress to approve a bill to continue the fight in Zika, and it passed. That's $1.1 billion that passed, taxpayers' money that passed to continue fighting this so-called Zika epidemic. I mean, dude, it's ridiculous. World Health Organization, I was told, I don't know the fact, has classified Naled as toxic and that it shouldn't be sprayed on human beings. Everything's just adding up that it's total manipulation of the system. Whoever's doing it, whichever members of the Federal Reserve, that's a whole other argument right there, Rex. That's a whole other argument. Is the Federal Reserve itself, which is a private organization that runs this government. I mean, that's a whole. You can root that back to Alexander Hamilton and the Bank of North America, which, funnily enough, which actually was purchased by Wells and Fargo. I don't know if you know that, but one of the initial banks that helped finance the government was Bank of North America, the Bank of New York, which is what Alexander Hamilton developed himself. Wells Fargo, and 2 weeks ago, the CEO of Wells Fargo came out with I haven't heard the quote, but something like him creating millions of false bank accounts to manipulate his numbers and his profits. Dude, Wells Fargo was purchased the Bank of North America, which is one of the original banks in this country. The other thing you can link together is Haim Solomon, and Haim Solomon was a Polish Jew that also helped finance the American Revolution. All this stuff roots back. It roots back. And again, Anthony Sutton is another guy to look at if you want to follow the money trail of who's cashing in with things like a nailed spray. Obviously, I would assume, and I haven't shown that to be fact, but I would assume that Scott Capital Partners would be one person cashing in with a spraying of nailed. And again, that's a petroleum-based product that as far as I've been able to uncover, it links right to Chevron Chemical Corp. In 1956. The Chevron Chemical Corp was part of Standard Oil. The Rockefeller Foundation, as far as I know, as far as I've been able to read, and that was the University of California, Berkeley study that I read, was the largest shareholder. Rockefeller Foundation was the largest shareholder in Chevron Chemical Corp. J.D. Rockefeller had set up Standard Oil with and one of his investors was J.P. Morgan, and that broke up via antitrust lawsuits from the U.S. government. That broke up into what we know as Exxon and Chevron and some other companies. But I mentioned to you Standard Oil of New Jersey. I mentioned to you Standard Oil of California, which became Chevron Chemical Corp, which was owned by Chevron, introduced nailed in 1956. And remember, I mentioned to you one of the products, Dibron, was the name was the name for this product. And another element of Dibron, apart from nailed, was tetraethyl, and tetraethyl was sold to the Nazis to basically run the motors of those warplanes that bombed London, and I'm assuming bombed it basically funded their whole regime, bombed France, divided France. You can tie that into 9/11 as well, and I'm not here to say that 9/11 is set up. I'm not here to integrate how the Saudis or Osama bin Laden, who was a member of the Saudi royal family, or whoever he's a member of, that had linked to Saudi Arabia. I'm not here to say that any of that was what would be termed as conspiracy theory. I'm not, but I've listened to both sides, and sure as heck sounds. What was it, Building 7, or that third building that was completely flattened yet never hit by a plane?
Tower 7.
How did that happen? Tower 7. How did that thing fall and get completely leveled and no plane ever hit it? I mean, some of this stuff is not adding up and sounds like manipulation of people running what is the Federal Reserve, which is a non-government entity and basically pulling the strings of the U.S. government, much like the strings that I saw being pulled at that town hall meeting, that city hall meeting at Miami Beach. You go back centuries and it all makes sense. It all makes sense. My ancestry went from my father's side, went from basically Lyon, France, into Quebec in 1640, and then down in San Francisco in 1890s. So I'm fifth generation San Franciscan. My mother is from Britain directly, but her father was a Hamilton from the lowlands of Scotland, from a Hamilton. So and that's my middle name, which through family links is linked to Alexander Hamilton. So these are some of the reasons that I'm trying to what's going on here. Who financed the American Revolution? Who financed the United States of America? Nuevo Ordo Seclorum, if I'm pronouncing that right, that's on the back of the dollar bill. That right there means New World Order. So I'm not saying that there's groups that had ill intent, but I'm just saying that some of these people that are studying some of these things and talking to some of these people and being financed by some of these people to accomplish some of these things. The U.S. Constitution is the most just and free document ever written by man, as far as I know. But who financed it? And what motives did they have? Who did they want to get paid back? What were the terms of getting paid back? I mean, the Federal Reserve, well, for instance, it'll lend out say $10 million to commercial banks, and then those commercial banks are only held accountable for 10% of that $10 million. The other 90%, they can lend out to us, but there's no backing to that. It's fiat money. There's nothing to support that. We're getting way off topic, because now we're talking about like the assassination of JFK and all these other things. How these how he wanted to take away the Federal Reserve and put the U.S. economy on silver, the silver greenbacks, whatever they're called. But some of this stuff, just you can go back to Abraham Lincoln. Some of this stuff is involved with wealthy families through the centuries, and Rockefeller's definitely one of them. And I'm sure, like any family, you want your prosperity to be taken care of. But look, I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with stuff like that. Deals, contracts, whatever it is. I have no problem with any man trying to build his own business or any family building a business. I have no problem with that if it's done honestly. But when it's done dishonestly, and if there's deception involved, then I have a problem with it. Because then you're not delivering a level playing field for the rest of humanity to play on. And if you're forcing societies or cities that make up that humanity to forcefully absorb a mosquito repellent, which is shown to scientifically be toxic, I have a problem with that. And it seems that they're using Zika as a mask to force feed these products to people. The other thing on the nail it subject is that officials will say it dissipates. It only lasts 6 hours in a day. In a day, its half-life is only a day. It's gone. Well, that's bogus because nail it breaks down. Nail it is classified as a moderately toxic chemical, but it breaks down into what's called a highly toxic chemical. And so it goes from spraying the nail it. When it gets hit, they'll spray it like 6 a.m. And then when that sunlight hits it at like 7 a.m., it becomes, in my word, combustible. Remember, it's a petroleum-based product. Gas enters the car. It requires it to ignite in order to run that motor. So when that spray nail it gets hit by sunlight, it becomes combustible and it breaks down into a byproduct called dichlorvose. And dichlorvose becomes up to 150 times more toxic than nail it itself, and it more than doubles its half-life. So and when it's sprayed over water, which these planes have sprayed over water, when it's sprayed over water, it extends that half-life. So it's the facts and the science from what I've been able to find via Google, and again, that's all information being made available through the public. That's without getting into secret archives run by the military. That sort of thing. This is all public information. What I've been able to find is it doesn't add up in favor of the Zika man. The Zika is not a threat, and that nail it is. And this is bad stuff. Bad stuff. And from what I've been able to find, and this is why I've gotten into all these historical families and who's running who, and it all comes down to the current world economy being built on oil, which you go back 10 years ago, going into Iraq, Americans were up in arms about going to Iraq. That's why I'd like to get Elon Musk. Assuming he doesn't know the harms of like nail it, which is a petroleum-based product. We need to get off of this oil-based economy. And I don't want to take any power away from anybody. Look, if you were David Rockefeller, if you were a member of the Rockefeller Foundation, I would say, hey, stop running your economy off of oil. Run it. I mean, he's got enough money. He's arguably got more money than Bill Gates and whoever, Carlos Slim. He's got the money. All he's got to do is transfer it into the development of a system that is non-oil based. He doesn't lose his control. All he's doing is making the world a better place. But that's not happening. From what I can tell, that's not happening. And there is a continued effort by the strings being pulled. And remember, he's also, if you're looking at it from if you're a member of the Rockefeller Company, you're also a competition with the people that run Dutch oil. You're also a competition. It doesn't sound like you're really a competition with Venezuela, which I'm assuming has one of the highest oil deposits on the planet. You're not really Citgo, I think it's Citgo, whatever it is. You're not really in competition with them. But any people, Saudis would be in it, and I believe it was Henry Kissinger that signed the contract with OPEC, Saudi Arabia, that they are only able to trade their oil with dollars. So if they're selling, whoever they're selling oil to, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, they've got to make that transaction in dollars. That's what I've been told. Is what Kissinger was able to do. So if you're the Rockefellers, it's so intertwined and it's such a mangled web that I can see how it's hard to do this, but it's, guys like me and guys like you, I don't know who you know, but guys like us, and there's a lot of us out there, we've just got to keep pressing forward because, look, like any member of the human race, we want our children, not only kids, but we want, I'm certainly thankful for my life. We want our race to be healthy, and we want, like the Constitution, states, we basically want a level playing field for everybody. You put in a hard day's work, put in honestly, you can succeed. You can succeed. The problem I have is it sounds like that field is being manipulated, and certainly force feeding a population with something called NAILID is not good. That's not good. And what I've been able to conclude is that they're force feeding that quote medicine on people to pack their pocketbooks for money. And that's wrong, man. That's just absolutely irate. That's absolutely irate. There is no reason that Miami-Dade or even Recife, Brazil should not have been using a safe organic insecticide. The other thing to remember, Rex, is that NAILID is shown, and these are studies done in New York over a couple decades ago. NAILID is shown to cause an increase in the mosquito population. So you're going to spray a neighborhood with NAILID, and you're going to kill a mosquito, but the mosquito's going to come back even stronger when they come back. That's proven. It's all out there at mindcan.com. I mean, it's outrageous, man. It's outrageous. It's totally outrageous. It's totally outrageous.
That's beautiful. And if you don't mind, can I put this on the record?
Put it on the record, man. Absolutely. People need to join this fight. And it's a fight. Dude, it's a fight for eating clean foods, drinking clean water. It's a fight for leveling the playing field. I have no problem with control, with power, but when it's done improperly and you're hurting a human being, that's where I have a problem with it. That's where I have a problem with it. And that's what I'm finding.
Ian will not fit in well in the New World Order. He will not assimilate. The dialects must destroy him.
It's crazy, man. I'm telling you. I love your passion. I appreciate the way that you put everything together. You certainly know your stuff, and it was very fluid. And I want to say something real quick before I let you go, and this is for people that, if you don't have a chance to go to the cdc.gov/Zika and look up this, look at what this says. I just got to read a few things here. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. Aerial spraying and mosquito control. Aerial treatment of areas with products that rapidly reduce both young and adult mosquitoes can help to limit the number of mosquitoes that carry the Zika virus. Repeated aerial applications of insecticide has reduced mosquito populations. Well, okay, great. So you're going to reduce populations of mosquitoes as well as honeybees, as well as harm human beings and hurt the planet. And then it says, listen to this. Where has NAILID been used? Well, it's been used extensively since the 1950s and is currently applied by aerial and ground spraying to an average of approximately 16 million acres of the continental United States annually. So, and then it says here, it's been used for mosquito control in Mississippi, North Carolina, Virginia. Then it also says, is aerial spraying or insecticides dangerous, harmful to human health? No. During aerial spraying, just a small amount of insecticide is sprayed over an area, about 1 ounce, 2 tablespoons per acre. This small amount does not pose a health risk to people or pets. When aerial spraying done correctly, it does not cause asthma attacks. Yet thousands of people report it. I mean, it's just crazy, man. It's like the stuff that they say doesn't happen. There's thousands of people that have literally been physically harmed that say without a shadow of a doubt it does. And it's just this disconnect. People have this cognitive dissonance. The government won't hurt me. The government loves me. Anything that they say on TV, if it's on CNN, it's true. It's just mind-blowing that we're in the year 2016 and people are still this retarded. And I love the fact that you're out there going to these meetings, talking to the people, and continue to do that, man. And, bring this up as much as you can, expose these dungeon masters for what they're doing, because they're finding any way they can to poison people. Not as many people are getting their babies vaccinated with poison anymore, so what do? Oh, we'll just put it in the atmosphere because people are buying organic foods. Or we'll label something as organic and not as an additive, yet in reality it's absolutely terrible for you. It's just anything that they can do. They feed off of this dark ecstasy, man. They love it. They love it. Right. And it's no matter what, it's more than control and money to them. It's literally hurting people because of whatever it is that they feed off of or worship, or whether they're worshiping themselves or something else. It's it's hurting people that gets them off, man. And hopefully there's enough white hats and good people out there in prestigious positions of power, aristocrats, politicians, law enforcement, alphabet agencies, everybody, mystery schools, you name it. There's good people in every faction, every walk of life. I think this labeling people, oh, well that person's a part of this mystery school, or that person's an occultist, or that person's an atheist, or that person worships this God or this God. It's all this divide and conquer stuff. I really think it's who you are as a person, what you do in actions, and I think what you're doing is awesome, man. You're being the change you want to see, and I applaud you for it.
So Rex, the only other thing I would say is, look, I put this in here real quick. The president of the American Council on Science and Health, I wrote to him and I asked him. I says, hey, look, I'm in Miami. I'm getting sprayed by Nail It. Should I be worried? And I promote a product which I like and I find to be safe. There seems to be no science that shows otherwise. It's called Rep Explosion. And his response to me, this is a guy named Hank Campbell, 110 East 42nd Street, Suite 1300, New York, 1017. Hank Campbell, the president of this American Council on Science and Health, he wrote back to me. He says, the caffeine drink you're hustling is more dangerous than Nail It. Are you kidding me? I'm assuming he's implying that me drinking Rep Explosion, me drinking that product, Rep Explosion, is going to have the same effect that Nail It has. That's asinine. All it is branched chain amino acids, citrulline malate, caffeine. That's basically all it is. Absolutely outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. So as people listen to this, people listen to the conversation we've had, or me revealing or whatever research that I've been able to uncover. People listen to this. We're up against a wall. I mean, we're up against a humongous fight. And for instance, a guy like Hank Campbell, all he's doing is he's being bought by one of the metal supports of the umbrella, and he has no clue who's holding the handle of that umbrella. All he knows is he's getting a paycheck. He's paying a check for doing what he's doing, and that's all he cares about. Not like this guy Mike Adams out of health.com. He's already been poisoned. His acetylcholinesterase is prohibiting him from developing his thought and continuing down that road to figure out what the hell is going on. Because him telling me that an energy drink, a caffeine-based energy drink, is more dangerous to me than Nail It.
Drink a glass of it, man. Offer him an opportunity. Here's a full glass. Please prove to me that this energy drink is worse than a full glass of Nail It, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, thanks for listening to me, man. Thanks for having me on, or whatever.
Yeah, thanks for getting a hold of me, man. I hope people certainly reach out. I'm sure that this is going to get to a lot of people. So it's really great to hear there's people like you out there that are so passionate about stuff like this and are doing something about it besides just leaving a few comments here and there about how they, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's fine. This guy said it was good for you, actually. It actually helps improve brain function. They're going to start putting it in lunch foods now for schools because they're going to find some way to prove that it's actually good for you. I mean, they put basically Roundup in many baby formulas, essentially.
Right.
One of the same chemicals. And you talk about Monsanto. Wow, those are the guys that made Agent Orange. So it's because they all love us. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Everything we just said is a conspiracy, and in reality, they just love us, and that's why they put all these chemicals in there and say that they're good for us and they're organic, and we have nothing to worry about. So we'll just leave it at that. So that's unbelievable. Thank you so much, Ian. This was great. I really appreciate it. And once again, please give our audience your website.
Yes, MiamiCan.com. That's MiamiCan.com. Citizens Against Nail It. We are. Richard and I are also developing a site called StopSpraying.org, and what we'd like to do is run an ad this coming, I believe it's February when the Super Bowl airs, to get this message out so that people wake up and figure out that we're being poisoned. We're totally being poisoned. It's as simple as that. We're being poisoned. So StopSpraying.org is not up yet, but if you go to MiamiCan.com, you can reach Richard and I there. You want to get involved? Please get involved. You want to support us in that Stop Spraying Super Bowl campaign? Please do. Look, I'm building a ton of bridges. We're all listening together. We've got to get the truth out. It will prevail. But the most important thing is educating people and stopping this tyrannic movement.
Right on, man. Folks, also check out our website, leakproject.com. Become a contributing member, help support Leak Project, get access to exclusive content, commercial-free, streaming, downloadable. You can access over 300 full-feature podcasts. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do, youtube.com/Clandestine Time Lord, and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Fair. Talk to you soon. Toxic banned pesticides, aerial spraying populations, Zika virus, Microcephaly, humans, lab rats, chemtrails, mill, Monsanto, Chevron, petrodollar connecting dots, beta testing populations, secret weapons of mass destruction. MiamiCan.com, Ian Trottier, latest Leak Project. Hey, how are you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm fine. I'm in Miami, so that's why a couple 6 weeks ago, a friend of mine that's from New York, who I confide in quite a bit, said, hey, you got to come to the city hall meeting. And prior to that, I knew that the Zika thing was going on. I knew they were spraying for it. But I just, just like Joe Civilian, I thought, okay, I trust the government's doing what they should be doing to protect us and support our tax dollars. And he's like, no, you got to come to this thing. And so I went to it. And Rex, I tell you, man, when I sat in that chamber, and there's 6 commission members and a mayor, and then the city attorney, and they're listening to both sides. And there's 300. I don't know what the official count was. I'm throwing a number. There's 300 people sitting in that chamber, totally opposed to the nailed spraying. Stop the spraying, and then there's other protests going on outside. And I thought, whoa, the majority of the people here are saying, hey, use a safer alternative. Use BTI, which is being used in Broward. Use something that's not harmful. And the deputy mayor from Miami-Dade, Hudak is her name, stood up and gave her side. And it's like the commission, Miami Beach Commission, Miami Beach is a separate city. They basically folded. And then I was interviewed afterwards by a CBS reporter. And that's why I said they were acting like puppets. I mean, they like bowed down to kiss her feet. They were going to do whatever she said. And of course, that Miami-Dade rep, because the mayor Jimenez wasn't present for whatever reason, she said no, we've got to spray with nail it. And I thought, wait, you've got 300 citizens of Miami Beach saying don't spray us with that shit. And as a commission who we pay your salary, you're saying, because the rep from Miami-Dade is saying use nail it, you're saying no, we're going to continue using nail it. I thought, who's representing the people? So that's why I'm up in arms about this. And the more I dig, the more dirt that I dig up, the more supports those 300 people. Look, so I teamed up with this guy up in Chapel Hill, and he's been fighting chemicals for years. And he took Monsanto on. And because he personally fell ill, he was living on a golf course in Tampa. He fell ill. He wanted to figure out what the hell they were spraying the lawns with and the bushes with. And it turns out they're spraying them with shit that was bad for human consumption. And so, fortunately, I think I found him. He runs a site called chem-talks.com. And then he and I have been building this Citizens Against Nailed, MiamiCan.com. We've also got the domain name stopspraying.org, because we'd like to make this a national message. We're all in this together, like what you're doing, and then we're all trying to stop this tyranny, which is all basically based on oil, an economy run by oil, petroleum. So one of the things I've found is that this Nailed is linked to the Chevron Corp, 1956. It's now manufactured by Amvac out of Los Angeles, nothing more than American Vanguard, which is Dutch Petroleum, Shell, a Dutch bank. And the other thing that just blew my mind away, Rex, is that this Chevron. I don't know if it's the same thing, but the product that I've been able to find, the product that Chevron debuted in 1956 for agricultural purposes in California, also contains something called tetraethyl. Now this will blow your mind if you don't know this. Tetraethyl. You probably heard that Prescott Bush was the head of a bank called Union Bank, which financed the Nazi movement in Germany. And basically, the pinning was the Hitler's Germany versus the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and and that bank, and you can go to a guy named Anthony Sutton, who was a teaching fellow at Stanford, and then he also was a full-time prophet. I think it was Cal State Los Angeles, not UCLA, but Cal State Los Angeles. And I don't know if he's still around. He's probably gone now. But he wrote an extensive book that chronicles that adds all these people up, man. So the Bushes, Prescott was in the same bed, be it Federal Reserve, with J.P. Morgan, and with J.D. Rockefeller, and of course it was David Rockefeller, and Rockefeller's descendants they're still controlling the Federal Reserve. But this is what I'm going to get at. Tetraethyl was a lead component of gasoline that was the only type of gasoline. It's all by design. It was the only type of gasoline that those planes, those Nazi warplanes, would run on. And that was a patent that was held by Standard Oil of New Jersey, otherwise known as Exxon, and also DuPont, and then I think it was General Motors. Those three companies held a patent on tetraethyl. Now, I don't know who sold the Nazis those warplanes, but those warplanes could only, and this is in Anthony Sutton's book, those warplanes could only get off the air using this tetraethyl gasoline. So basically, and see, my family's British and French, and my mother's England, and I said, and some of this stuff is just mind-boggling, and the average person is just, whoa, right? I mean, and so I said, look, and Rick, I'm going to tell you, man, and this guy was British. This Anthony Sutton's British. I told her, I said, it wasn't the Germans that bombed London in World War II and split France in half. She doesn't have French answer. That's from my father's side. I said it was the United States. It was the Federal Reserve that funded the Nazi regime. So when that shipment of that tetraethyl gasoline got into Germany, those warplanes took off, and boom. I mean, this guy has it down. The next day, or within like 12 hours or something, London was bombed. I mean, dude, this stuff is like so fucking incredible. The average guy is just going to be like, holy shit, it's all conspiracy. I mean, that's when they throw that name out there. But what I've done, I've added some of this shit up, and it's just like, holy shit, these are credible sources. This guy was a teaching fellow at Stanford. You know what I mean? I mean, he's got this stuff all laid out. And so, look, I'm just an average guy, and all I want to do is live in peace and harmony. But my nose was bleeding one day after these spranks, or during these spranks. I think they start spraying in this place called Wynwood, which I actually currently am at right now, and then they start spraying in Miami Beach. The other thing which is interesting is that in Wynwood, the mosquito traps have not turned, or they haven't been presented to the general public that there's proof that any mosquito actually carrying the Zika virus has ever been found in Wynwood. Now, I don't know about Miami Beach, but when they started spraying that shit over Miami Beach, I remember one night I was out with this girl. I was at a place called Prime 101, and I was talking to her,